find a way off my dreams. Find salvation in my schemes. Find salvation in my schemes. There's no need to save the world. I need to transcend me. I need to transcend me. What you do without empathy? What you do without empathy? We're on. What's good? Happy to have you. We got the lovely Patricia Mayo today. I had you on once before years ago. The episode is lost, so we have to do this again. But last time you had to share the stage. This time it's all you.
Well, last time was, I think for both of us, our life was a little bit more hectic.
Yeah. There's definitely different. I think I was still in my son's like nursery room back then. Now I'm in the garage.
Ooh, you got a whole room for yourself.
Yeah, this is a whole new apartment now. This is a whole different place now.
Holy congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Could have been better, could have been worse, but we got a roof over our head, and that's good enough for me,
It's a huge blessing, it's relatively similar for me. I'm in a different place than I was last time we met. But I also have a new studio. It's just my front yard.
That's a beautiful thing, though.
It's beautiful. Yeah, I got a pop up. So, it that gray back there. That's the real gray. It's really threatening. But that's Florida. It's always just kind of like.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's like you got good weather year round, just about.
Depending on where you come from, there's plenty of people who would call this like just tropical, like perfect until summertime, and then they're like, nope, that was a full frontal assault. Skip.
Too hot.
Yeah, I was born and raised in South Florida, so I'm presently in Jacksonville, so it's a little chilly for me. You get literally 10 miles south of where I am, and it's 10 degrees warmer.
So I have my mom-in-law lives in Orlando. So Orlando's like down here.
Middle.
Jackson is the middle. So
yep.
Jackson is like northern Florida.
Jacksonville is basically the northeastern point. Yeah, Jacksonville is the northeastern point of Florida.
So that's like Boca Raton. I'm not trying to dox you.
So starting from the very, very bottom of Florida, we've got Key West, and then we've got all the Miami. Keys. Yeah, then Miami, then Fort Lauderdale, then West Palm Beach, and Boca Raton, and Tampa, and Orlando, Gainesville, kind of that,
Yeah.
And then up northeast, there's Jacksonville, and in the far, far west, we've got another time zone with Pensacola. Yeah, as soon as you cross the Mississippi
River. That's where Roman
River.
Reigns is from. Roman Reigns is from Pensacola. I don't know if you know who that is or not. That's a pro wrestler guy, but he's from Pensacola. That's the only reason I know Pensacola.
I worked and lived in Pensacola briefly a couple of years ago, so it's fun fact to hear that now, and I'm not surprised. I'm really not surprised. Florida, man, we're not notorious for nothing.
I've been in Jersey most of my life. I lived in Ohio for about 5 years. I do a little bit of traveling, but I've mostly been in New Jersey, and it's cold as hell right now. There's a reason I got the sweater on. Like, it's cold. I got a space heater right next to me. It's cold as right now.
I lived in New Hampshire off and on for 20 years, so I empathize.
That's way colder. That is way colder.
No, Jersey. See, Jersey, you're kind of grateful for the cold because now you can't smell it.
Okay, now. Okay. That's not a lot. No, that's some real shit, though. For people that have never been to Jersey, I lived in Ohio. Again, I lived in Ohio for 5 years. The first time I came back to New Jersey to visit, I was just like, what the fuck is? I'm like, what is? I'm like, what? Why? I'm like, why does it smell like garbage? It's like it just smells like garbage, like everywhere.
And this is like, the garden state. What garden? Garden of death.
The
I,
weeds
I
took over the garden. The weeds took over the garden. They started littering in the vacant lot, and now you
it's a
just got
compost
nice.
garden. That's what it is. It's a
That's
compost
it.
garden.
We build in. We build in. We fertilize in the soil. We move in from where we got. But yeah, definitely. I mean, because I have a lot of theories. Like, I gotta get out of America. I gotta move to a different country. I might just need to move to a different state. I might just need to get the hell out of New Jersey. To be completely honest with you,
I
no
mean,
shade to Jersey. Like, it's a lovely place to be, but like the people here are so. The people in Jersey are so rude and anti, and they don't even know it. There's nothing for them to. If you don't travel, you don't know. You know, you don't know, and it's like
uh,
they have no comparison for it.
so my experiences in New Jersey include a drag race in the Walmart parking lot.
That sounds kind of cool.
Um, and dinner and a show at a Taco Bell. So there was we were at a Taco Bell. There was a DoorDash driver at the counter, and apparently one of the Taco Bell employees was on the other door trying to get in, and there were two of them holding the door closed so that the other Taco Bell employee couldn't get in. They're like, rattling at the door. And the DoorDash driver is just standing at the counter, just saying, I said what I said. Unprofessional ass people. And in that very moment, I kid you not, can't make this up. Another Taco Bell employee walks out from the back room wearing a giant taco hat.
No way. There's no way. I don't. I
So
believe you. I believe you, but it's like I don't think you get paid enough for that.
no, you don't. And so like it was interesting times in that state. I gotta say that. And and I can understand why you might have gone there instead of say like upstate New York,
I've been born.
because
I was born here. I didn't have a this. My family's from Jersey. I was born in Jersey. As this is what I know besides Ohio.
yeah,
It wasn't. It
yeah.
wasn't really a choice.
Well, and then you went out to Ohio where there's like nothing, right? And then
But they're
you
so
know,
nice. But the people are so kind in Ohio. Like you
and
have.
observant.
Oh my god,
Observant in a certain kind of way that you wouldn't really expect otherwise, right? And
they're
and
really
and
good with people.
yeah. And I mean, like the things that they notice, the things that they understand,
The
okay?
laws
Because
of
I
Yanta.
heard from one person who was born and raised in Columbus, Ohio, how they went out to upstate New York and they were so surprised, like that there was just nothing out there, like so much nothing that there's like not even beans and corn,
There's a
nothing.
lot of no. There's a lot of drugs. there's a crazy. There's a crazy. It's like I have a friend from Ashtabula, Ohio, and that's like I think that's more towards the north, like farmland, Ohio. And he's like, there's nothing to do out there, so we just do. He's like, from the age of 12 years old, he just did. And for me, I'm like, that sounds asinine. That sounds crazy. But I'm from the suburbs in New Jersey, and I come back home, and there's a show called Euphoria, and I'm like, that reminds me of my high school. so I don't know. I feel like people talk about how horrible the world is. I think they might just be using drugs.
I mean, a lot. I think that it's interesting that everywhere I go, everyone thinks that there's like a whole lot of nothing to do here, right? You go to people in Ohio are like, there's nothing to do here, so all we do
Yeah.
is each other and make more people, right? You go to Pensacola, and it's like there's nothing to do here. Everybody thinks it's paradise, but it's so boring, right? And you go to Jersey, and you're like, there's nothing to do here except smell it, and then but if you actually like take a moment to get off the highway, there's
Yeah.
so
So much
much
life.
more,
There's a lot.
so
There's a
much
lot.
more. So like, okay, Colorado, not Colorado, Ohio, for
Colorado's dope
example.
though.
Colorado is and there's some crazy, don't get me started, but so in just south of Columbus, Ohio, there is I think it's called Grandfather's Cave, uh, and it is this crazy, like just miles expanse of these caverns and cave
You
systems
be
with
cave diving?
a tiny bit. I like my caverns and stuff. I don't go in. I like looking at them from the outside. That's fine.
I'm sorry, I
Uh,
just oh my god. I don't know. Have you ever seen the videos of like the dude and he's cave diving and he's just
oh no,
This is the greatest thing in the world. He's on his stomach, his head's tilted. He's just trying to inch. He has like a little piece of cardboard underneath him. And he's like, I discovered the cardboard a couple of years ago. This makes it so much better. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm okay.
That's what
I'm
I.
okay
That's
from.
what I think. That's what I think when I think of caves, and I like that's me. That's on me. I need to be more cultured.
I'll go on the little stone bridge over them, and then and look at them from afar. Like I don't need to be sticking my head in there. Okay, this is some no, skip. I will learn from your mistakes and just not do this. Um, but yeah, there's some interesting things everywhere. If you get off
Yeah,
the friggin'
absolutely.
highway, is my point. And I mean, it looks like a fairy village used to be there with the way that the like it was stone that had carved itself into a bridge over this chasm. It was one piece of stone, and it was like as wide as one person. Like, should I be going over this? I don't know, but these are the things that you discover when you get off the highway, and go somewhere like and get off the beaten path. But I mean, this is coming
Yeah,
from.
the road less traveled.
Yeah, I mean, I was born and raised in Fort Lauderdale. So like by all means, most people would be like, oh, that was paradise. Your childhood must have been like just eating coconuts off the tree. It is, but I actually know that if you eat too many coconuts, you're gonna regret it. And most people think, oh, eating coconuts all the time is just it's just fruit off the tree. Yeah, don't eat too many. You're gonna have to find a bathroom real quick.
I think that's the I think that's the reality for most of life is everyone has this grass is always greener perspective. As someone who has mowed many lawns over the past 5 years, the grass is only greener where you fertilize it. When you water your grass, you fertilize your grass, you add some lime, you take care of it, you're gonna have a very beautiful lawn. You cut it too low because you don't want to reveal the weeds that you have. You're not going to be able to see the weeds to pick them out. You got to take care of what you got. And everybody wants to just have this mentality of, I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to move somewhere else. I'm going to reinvent myself and be somebody else. And it's like, dude, just work on your weaknesses. Just admit when you're wrong. Humble yourself a little bit. I feel like people are very, especially in Jersey, people are very, very prideful. It's like being right all the time is like a sense of survival,
I
even
said
when
what
they're
I.
wrong.
Yeah, yeah. Er, Yeah, and even when you're right too, can be like it's not necessarily the time, you know. There's been, I mean, especially in food service,
Yeah.
it's not. For myself, like let's just not voice those things before we have our food. You know,
at least you brave. I feel like there's two things I don't fuck with: medical people and food. Like I don't mess with that line. You got to be polite. You go to the hospital with a bad attitude, you may not come out of that hospital. They got some psychopaths in there, man. They got some crazy stuff. Oh, you want to act that type? We got Doctor fucking Kevorkian for you. What's
right?
good?
Yeah, yeah.
What's up?
You know, we
You
got we
should have
got
said good morning.
my grandpa's medicine. Oh, your foot hurts? Give your hand. Yeah.
I met a guy from Canada, and he said the Canadian medical. He's like Americans talk about Canada. He's like in Canada, you get sick and you have to go to the doctor, and you're like, I feel better. I'm good. I'm good. It's like you might have the flu. Do you need to go to the doctor?
No, not that
Nah,
bad. Not that bad.
nah. I'm just gonna sleep it off. Where's that Nyquil at?
Oh, yeah, yeah. You broke your leg? You should go to the ER.
What's
No, it's okay.
crazy?
It's okay. I got this. I got
With
this.
brother has MS. So it's like it's even so he's not talking about some basic he has multiple sclerosis for people who don't know what MS is. So he's in like legitimate pain 24/7 and he's just like I got to
Man.
wait how long to see a doctor? Nah, I'm all right.
I
I'm
mean,
going to
I
feel
can
better by the time I see the doctor.
I hear about the Canadian medical system, and it reminds me a great deal of the VA medical system for veterans here in the
Yes,
states.
basically, yeah.
You know, yeah, and being that I do a lot of medical advocacy for veterans now, I
That's
get
quite
to
that's quite analogous. That was beautiful that you put those two together.
well, I see that firsthand now, that what they deal with. And I grew up being my mother's medical advocate because she was disabled. So she had epilepsy and a few other, medical disabilities, and so I was her voice for a lot of medical appointments. I made it through the Medicaid system, and after giving birth to my kids, I was like, never
God
again,
bless you.
because that Medicaid system is just awful. And I would say that the VA medical system is maybe a half a bar better than the VA system, like just a touch, just a teeny touch. And that teeny tiny touch is the fact that you don't have to do paperwork every single time you go to the doctor. That's nice. They it's all in like one system. But in terms of like the overall like honesty with you, the honesty with each other, that's just the same. And which is to say, not good, not transparent, and not very useful. I was sitting in a VA office with a VA reception person who literally said to my face that like only you know 10% of veterans ever apply for benefits. And I was like, that stat sounds oddly familiar. So I'm sitting in the office, I'm looking it up, and I'm like, huh, I wonder if that has anything to do with the fact that 90% of veterans experience homelessness and you need an address in order to claim benefits.
Holy shit.
It's a little too coincidental there, you know?
I really feel I feel like you see again, like me and Patricia have known each other for a few years now. You see my political posts, you know what my beliefs are. I don't feel like we need necessarily like a bloody revolution. I'm not a violent person or nothing like that. But we need a major overhaul in how we do things. And it can't be a game of comparison. We can't compare ourselves to Canadians. We can't compare ourselves to Europeans because that's where you really fuck up your life. That whole idea of better than, I'm better than I was yesterday. Like yesterday, I didn't brush my teeth. Today, I brushed my teeth. That's better, but that's not any real tangible, deliverable difference in my life. My teeth are just shining a little bit more because I'm on camera now. That's a made up story. That's not reality. I brushed my teeth yesterday too. That was just an example, but still, it's like we I used to study political science back in college. I'm currently in college now, but I studied business because I already studied politics and I was like, this is fucked. It's like people want it's like they don't even necessarily have an argument. I discovered that today. You're not even really arguing with these people because a debate, an argument requires mutual respect for both sides. It means that I understand where you're coming from, you understand where I'm coming from, and we're just articulating why we believe the things that we do. I feel like if people did a better job of articulating this is why I voted for who I voted for, rather than you voted for that guy, you're a piece of shit. I fucking hate you. I'm never fucking talking to you again. It's like, okay, we still gotta live. We still gotta live together. We still gotta make life work together. And it's like, I see it in
I
the
have no
background.
idea.
I see it in the background. I saw the helicopter in the background. They're catching Florida man. There was an
I
alligator in someone's tree and they had to go get it.
I right? Well, I'm also I am spitting distance from the base, the military base.
Oh, cool, cool, cool. My mom
Yeah.
is near Nellis. Is it?
Oh
I don't
no,
think it's
we're
Nellis. I don't think
yeah,
that's
we're
Nellis.
near Mayport. Mayport's the one that's in Jacksonville for the Navy.
I think Nellis Airport is actually from Fallout, the video game. It was a completely different airport, and it was like I don't know. I went to go visit her down there. She was working in Florida for a while. My mom worked for the military for a while. She designed weapons. She wasn't a soldier, so we had a pretty nice, cushy life to some degree. When I lived with my parents, now I live on my own, and I just gotta be. We just making it, we're just making it work. But there
It's
was some
incredible.
airport. There was
It's
some
incredible
airports.
these days to try to make it work these days in this in every. this the
It's interesting.
inflation and so forth that's happened in the last year, you know, never mind, goodness, since 2019, it seems like we've been in a completely different twilight zone since the first month of 2020, longest decade ever. And
Yeah.
like this is just it.
And then it goes back to my point. It's like you have people who are they're just living in division. They're
Yeah,
living for the sake of proving the other side wrong, but neither side is trying to find any solutions. This goes back to around 2007. This goes back honestly to 2003. And you have people who want to be in power so desperately. It's like you get a job and you got that one person working there and they want to be the manager so goddamn bad, but they have no leadership qualities. Nobody likes this person. They don't even work that freaking hard. They're not good with people, but they swear to God that they should be running things. And it's like, from my perspective, I have a lot of conversations like these. I blame this fake sense of masculinity that a lot of people go through. And it's like they're not the type of dude that women would want. They're not the type of dude who would make a good partner. They're not the type of guy who would make a good father. They're
this
not the
ultimately
they're just not that dude, you know?
this ultimately all reminds me of a conversation I have a lot with the veterans is, because when they're transitioning out of work, being in the military, which is I don't know, have you been in the military? Do you know people who've been in the military?
I know a lot of people that have been in the military and that made me go, that's not for me. But God bless them for what they have done. God bless them for their service.
Right. And it's not for the meek, and that's a big part of it is that in order to make it a number of years and make it into a leadership position in the military, generally speaking, more times than not, you get there by merit. Not by what you can say you can do, not by what somebody says you can do, but by
What
what
you
you
can do.
prove you can do. And that's very different from corporate world. Corporate world, it's whoever says what they can do better is
Yeah,
the
it's a
one
lot of
who gets the
posturing.
job. Right.
It's
Yeah.
posturing, it's
Yes.
framing, it's confidence, but it's like it's zero substance, and that's why a lot of these businesses fail. You
And
know,
it's
when
also why a lot of veterans struggle in those environments because they expect to be seen with merit, they expect to be treated by their merit,
they just get
and it's
exploited.
not that way.
You just get exploited, honestly. The
Mhm.
harder you work, I had a job like that when my son was being born, and they knew I was having a kid. They knew I was like moving in and like building a family. And instead of it being like this kind of environment where it's like, wow, we really need to help this guy, it just felt like we got him by the balls now. We fucking got him now. He's having a kid. He's trying to he fucking got him. And I was like, no, I'm out of here. Fuck you guys. They're like,
Mm.
you're such a great worker. You're such a great worker. What do you mean a
No.
promotion? What do you mean a shift manager? You only have a decade of restaurant experience. You only have 10 years of experience. How are we going to promote you off of that? And it's like, dude, y'all, it's like the way that they want to treat people is just for me, that's really the entire freaking issue. It's not about the money to some degree for a lot of these people because they already have money. And like you said, you can eat coconuts. You might eat too many coconuts and get sick, but all you need is a coconut. You don't need a whole lot to get by. You just need a roof over your head. You get some fruit, some veg, a little piece of meat, maybe a grain here or there. You're good to go. It's not that hard to survive on planet Earth. But again, you got a lot of these people that they need to feel superior. They need to feel like they're in control. They need to feel like they have power. And it's like, even if you had it, what would you do with it? You would just abuse it. You would just make people hate you more. It's like you put certain people in these positions, you're just going to have a giant coup and everyone's going to work against you. So that's what I had to kind of go through in that situation. I'm like, am I management material? Oh, I would say now I am, but back then, no, I probably wasn't. I probably wouldn't have been a good manager. I probably wouldn't have been a good supervisor. Maybe they recognize that, but there's a way to shape that in people that rather than saying, This person is they're unqualified. What qualifications would they need in order to fit this role and position? Okay, well, we're going to deny your application now, but what can I tangibly do to get my application proceeded next? Is it just an amendment that I have to make, that I just file one of the wrong? It's like they create these like institutions like the VA, like welfare, like Section 8 housing, to say that they want to help people just for their consciousness, just so they can feel a little bit more philanthropic. But in reality, it's like they teach these people to just say, we don't got that.
In reality, what ends up happening is you have Ford struggling to get enough mechanics to into their dealerships, so they're opening a whole school to train mechanics, and they can't give away scholarships to it because, surprise, surprise, if
They're
you leave your
charging.
mechanics to be paid unfairly at the dealerships and be treated unfairly, you're going to have a heck of a time hiring after a while, you know. And this is what's happening in a lot of industries. You've got a lot of industries where they were never attentive to their workforce. They never actually gave a hoot. They never actually trained them. They never actually cultivated them. They're sitting here saying, like, you're the one who's supposed to do all these things on your own time. And meanwhile, by the way, you should pee in a bottle because we're not giving you 5 minutes to go to the bathroom.
Amazon.
Yeah, I worked there too. That was fun. Um, and it was all 110% because, for myself being in media, I really got to understand everything that understanding my shit bow to stern. And this is a big part of the reason why now I'm publishing on Lulu, not Amazon. I don't support what they're doing because I know what they're doing from the inside out.
For real.
Um, it's this fun fact. There were a number of tornadoes and so forth at the facility that I was working at the time, where we were supposed to be sent home. According to even corporate, like head corporate, we were supposed to not work on the days when we had the
I heard about
tornadoes.
those.
Yeah, but we were there anyway. And this is just one of those situations where my life was in grave danger, completely unnecessarily, and it was either my job or my life, and I had to choose my job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's where a lot of people are, is they have to choose their job. And then this is the if you keep people too busy to ever think about themselves,
There's no
what do you think is
revolution.
going to happen?
There's no
What do
time for revolution. Like, you're
yeah.
just stuck. You're
Yeah.
too busy to read. You're too busy to function. You're too busy to find truth and facts. You're just Most people are just they're just stuck. And what you just said is like it's the linchpin situation that most people are in. You can't speak out about the system because you depend on the system to survive. Why? Because the system has made itself the only means of survival. And people don't I feel like most people are too young. I'm only 32, so I only have my 32 years. So if I don't read, if I don't study, if I don't look into this, I'm only gonna have those 30 years. It's always been this way. That's why I've heard this shit my entire fucking life. It's so fucking
Oh, and
weird.
they've orchestrated
It's
this for a long
always been that
time.
way.
They've
This
orchestrated this for a long time. This nuclear family where you are now the head of your household, and the
it's
nuclear
bullshit.
family concept, yeah, that was invented in the 1950s by Leave It
It's
to
bullshit.
Beaver. That didn't exist before. And so we
It's in
used to be able to lean on, heck, it used to be the grandparents raising the children, not the parents.
It was a village.
Because
It was the whole neighborhood.
exactly, yeah,
Not
now
to
we've
cut you off.
privatized the whole daggone village. Yeah.
Well, they made the family hate itself. They made the
Hmm.
family structure hate one another. The media is very powerful.
Yeah.
It's with the way that a lot of this stuff has worked. I would imagine that it is someone's life experience, but it portrays it in a way as if you're supposed to relate to this. Rather than people picking up the narrative, they pick up the book and they can relate to the author, they can relate to the writer of the story. They want to be the main character themselves. And it's like you can't have main character syndrome and learned helplessness. You got to pick one. You can't be the main character. You got people saying that. Is that my mic doing all that feedback, Gerbil? Give me one.
Oh, it
Give
might
me
be.
one.
because I don't hear 1 second of it.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Good
I
news
lost
is I
myself
didn't
for.
hear it. Yeah, you were talking about you can't be a hero and have learned helplessness.
Yeah, you can't be
And
the main character and have learned helplessness. You can't. You got people that feel like they're God. They want to be the center of the freaking universe, and it's like you can't be God, and you're watching all these people suffer. You're watching all these people starve. You're watching all these people go without just so you can have a fucking mansion or something like that. Like I look back on my writing career and there I gave all my books away for free. I could have made a shit ton of money in hindsight. I could have made tens of thousands of dollars, maybe not a million, maybe not 100,000, but I left tens of thousands of dollars on the table because, like, I just want you to read my fucking book. I just want you to read the story, but you can't give the book away for free because people won't value it because it's free. So what's wrong with it? So why should I read it? So is it valuable or not? It's like people are in this catch-22 where it's like they worship this opulent, expensive lifestyle where you can just spend all the money that you want, but it's impossible to get to unless you live below your means. You're eating rice and beans for every meal. You're not eating out and eating fast food. You got to go without for a very long time before you get
knowing
that opulent, wonderful lifestyle. Then once you do that, the grandkid, then you ruin the whole family wealth, the whole family fortune. It's
knowing the
like
price of everything and the value of nothing,
that's the
you know.
American way.
Yeah. Yeah,
Time's too short. Let's just get drunk and die.
you become obsessed with the as Plato was talking about, the shadow on the cave wall rather than the real fire, and we've had this representation of value take over the whole idea of value, and it's that whole toolkit paradox. You want to stop worrying about money by having more money, right? And that's not really, you don't have more money by getting more money. You don't.
You have to give your time.
You have to actually like create the space and the money, stop spending more. The way that I kind of talked about it earlier today, because this actually came up earlier today in general conversations. It was
Beautiful.
this obsession where as soon as you get a payment, your first thought is, ooh, what can I spend it on? I have money, what can I spend it on? Where can I spend the money? I got the money, where can I spend it
How
on?
do I give it back?
Right? Rather than it your immediate output, your immediate construct is that all of your value is externalized.
Yeah.
Everything, so it's like, oh, I've got the money, so now I can get the things that show the status, right? Rather than having any internal sense of value, any internal sense of what's priceless, any internal sense of what you want from, you know, take away your job title, take away your clothing, take away your name, take away your appearance, take away all of those things, and then who are you and what are you doing and why are you doing it?
I don't
Figure
know.
that out.
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing because I'm thinking back to the guy that I was saying earlier, but it's like a lot of men, again, the patriarchy and misogyny has a lot to do with this as well. Because you're talking about a solution, you know, and most men don't live in solutions. Most men do generally, sadly, live within how do I exploit this to my benefit? How do I find comfort into this situation? Well, how do I make the human beings want homeostasis? You're seeking some sense of comfort, you're seeking some sense of balance or equilibrium within the system. But it's like you need these grown ass men who want to be alpha men to want to destroy the system of capitalism, to want to destroy the system of patriarchy and misogyny, not how do I feed into this and exploit this to treat other people like shit so then no one wants to work with me, no one wants to be around me, and now there is no social movement possible because every young man wants to be a womanizer, they hate everybody. If you breathe and you exist and you look differently than them, they have a problem with you. It's like you can't create anything on this American soil because it's like from my personal perspective, I did a thesis paper on slave labor about a decade ago. Ever since I've done that paper, my life has been fucked. Like I can't unsee it. It's
Yeah.
like things that, like, 'cause I'm thinking that I'm just studying history. I'm thinking that I'm just studying the past, and this is what. No, this is the base. Slavery is the basis of the entire American culture. It's not just a
Presently.
skin color thing. The employment system that we have is slavery. The military system is slavery. The prison industrial complex is slavery. What's the dream role that they have for every woman? Having a house slave. You got a sex slave living in your house that does all your chores for you. It's like they can't see anything possible other than treating people like shit, and it's like I do have these conversations with AI about, do you worry about how people are going to use you in the future? Do you worry about how humans are going to perceive you on the basis of you're just answering queries, like you're not, the AI isn't necessarily responsible for the answers that it's given. You're asking it for these answers, but it leaves such an open wide door open for what people utilize this stuff for. Like you think of Grok and how Grok
Oh,
used to be a beacon of truth. You could ask Grok basically, is this true? And Grok will give you a neutral perspective on whether or not the claim was true. If the liberal was wrong, the liberal was wrong. If the right wing person was wrong, the right wing person was wrong. They didn't like that, so they manipulated Grok into Mecha Hitler. And now even the AI, even the beacon of truth that they could utilize for solutions, they just want to live inside of an echo chamber. You got a lot of these dudes that have never been touched before. They've never had a hug. They've never a lot of
mm,
some of these dudes are my age. They've never kissed a woman before. They're in their 30s, their 40s. They've never kissed a woman. So they can't have a system on the basis of internality because there's nothing inside of them. Their entire life has been dedicated to the, if I just make all the money in the world, then women will finally date me and like me. Money can't unlame you. You got women that have their own jobs now. That you got a lot of women that will do anything other than be a fucking house slave. You know.
and you know what? If a
Sorry, I
lot of
went
what's
off. I went
going
off.
on, a lot of no, you're good. This is legit. Like I'm so glad that this is the conversation. You know what I mean? Because
Absolutely.
it needs to be had. It needs to be said out loud. And of course we're getting extra real here with the feed as it turns to dark down here in Florida at daytime o'clock anyway.
Yeah.
uh Freaking daylight savings time. Anyway, that's another story for another day. But yeah, a lot of people construe control with the ability to step on their head. If you're not actually somebody who can drag them down and then look all the better for it, then
They don't
what good
want it.
is your life? you know?
That's really all they measure it on.
Yeah. And there's no internal
Collaboration.
measure.
Oh, I'm
Hmm.
sorry. I'm sorry. I was gonna say there's not a lot of collaboration. You said a completely different word. What did you say?
I don't even remember
Internal
what you said.
measure?
Yes, there is no internal measure. And it is a collaboration, but with themselves. See, a lot of what I tend to find people never like this answer, but when they ask me things like, am I silly for hoping that someone will take me exactly as I am? And I says, well, only if you think that that someone has to be someone else. And, if you lean on, you're not going to feel accepted unless someone else accepts you, you're going to be holding your breath for a while. How about you start by accepting yourself? How about you start by asking yourself, what do you want? How about you asking yourself, what would make future me proud to have done today? And start there. And, that, even if you have no real internal baseline, you can ask yourself, what would future me be proud of for having done today? And you'll get a good answer that will make your future you proud. Ask me how I know.
How do you know?
Oh, man. I've literally achieved everything I set out to do in life. And then I had new dreams and I achieved those. And it made me unafraid to make new dreams again, and which made me unafraid to actually pursue the dream. Because, you know, 9 times out of 10, what most people really want is to just keep dreaming, because
Yeah,
it feels good to dream and hope and things like that. And it's really scary to actually fulfill the thing. And that's why it took me until, you know, 2023 basically to fulfill uh everything that I thought I maybe could do. And that it's worth everything. You know, you build that track, and I people call me strong, people call me, you know, an overcomer, and so on and so forth.
inspirational.
Yeah, inspirational. And so, you know, and I'm still surprising myself, and that's the point. You know, that's the point. I think the best way that I've heard phrased this concept is, you know, if you ever want to know whether or not you're pursuing your shadow or your genuine greatness, is are are you seeking comfort right now, or are you seeking understanding?
Mm,
And if you're seeking comfort, and you said it earlier too, the very same concept was, you're just looking for what's comfortable.
yeah,
That's that's just going deeper into the shadow.
it's a trap.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
the it's xenophobia ultimately. You know, this concept of you know, we've ingrained all of this xenophobia into xenophobic ideas into the way that we live, think, drink, everything. Like you said, we m- made enemies of our family, we made enemies of our neighbors, we made enemies of our cousins, and we've this is why I'm so particular whenever anybody starts saying like, "Oh, those clowns." I'm like, "Don't you dare dehumanize them."
yeah. I had to give that last night talking about black conservatives and Latinos that voted for Trump. It's like you got to understand that for some of these people, they need to believe this for survival. They're surrounded in areas that if they did not believe what they did, they would die.
Yes.
They don't have the privilege of being a Democrat. They don't have the privilege of speaking the truth out to power. They're surrounded. They want to protect their family. They want to live their life in peace, and they may not be able to move. They don't have a choice.
A lot of people don't realize how indentured a lot of people are to their employers, you know, and especially in you might
They
say
don't want
ethnic
to.
communities,
They
you
don't
know.
want to know. They don't want to know.
No, they
It's
don't
a
want to
lot
know.
easier if you. It's a lot easier in life if you don't know. If you don't question, you keep your head down, you just shut the hell up. It's a lot easier to just get by. You know, you may not get the promotion, you may not make more money, but it's like the psychological stress of knowing what happened to humanity was hijacked, and you're living within the ashes. Everyone's talking about the natural order. You haven't lived in the natural order for 14,000 years.
Or
It's been
so, who knows? Yeah.
it's been 14,000 years. The advent of fucking farming and large scale farming, that's what created the slave system. And that's what created this entire mess that we're living in. Before, you had a lot of nomads. Before, you had people living in villages and they had farmland. They would grow a little bit, you know, but it's like the same way people have like a backyard farm. They have a local farm. They have a long plot of land. They grow food for their family, and then you trade with other people. Once you had this large plantation of land, you had these wide swaths of land that you had to protect, you had to defend, you had to have someone live on it. You had empire. You know, you had empire before then too, but you didn't have sustainable empires because they couldn't feed themselves. They had to keep raiding and pillaging. You had farmland now. You had control over people's livelihoods and they couldn't go anywhere. Their entire lives for generations were connected towards one specific trade, being the blacksmith, being the farmer, being the person that plows that tills the wheat, knowing the specific, being the herbologist, knowing the specific vegetables and plants that are edible and inedible. It's like we don't look at it from a real life perspective because most people don't even know. Most people are trying to fill in the. I learned that with slavery too. A lot of people just try to fill in the blanks. They're like, it's so terrible and it's so horrible. Yes, it is, but why? Yes, it is. It's really dehumanizing. It's really fucked up, but why? Because their children, their children's children, their grandparents, your entire family for generations all they knew were slavery, and they weren't allowed to gain any. They had no perspective of the outside world. They were not allowed to interact with other people. They were not allowed to, it was illegal to show your children love and affection for Black people for centuries. And then you wonder, why don't you have fathers in the household? For centuries, the father couldn't hug his wife, the father couldn't hug his kids. He'll get lynched, he'll get killed for it, he'll get taken to prison for showing his family affection. It's like the damage that was done to humanity. People are just, it's like your best friend got molested by their father or something, and their teacher is like, oh my god, you're not focusing in class, you're not thinking about, this girl is thinking about having to go home and protect herself from someone that made her. It might be that, it might be getting beat, it might be child abuse in a different, it might be verbal abuse, who knows.
And
But it's
people
like,
sit here and talk about like, oh, slavery was hundreds of years ago. That was like, 1.5 generations ago, right? And not to mention too, like you want to sit here and ignore the fact that your culture has been able to establish trusts, bank accounts, and so on and so forth for generations upon generations. And like one
globally.
and a half generations ago, they got access to those things, and only access, not education, not onboarding, not actual training on any of this stuff. No, just the unknown ability to do it.
Also,
You
the
know,
simple fact that slavery never ended. They
no.
killed the guy that ended slavery. They killed
Mhm.
the guy immediately after. There were dozens of plantations. I want to say dozens to be conservative, but there was about 50 more years in which they didn't even tell the people working on these plantations. You had sharecropping immediately after slavery, which was arguably worse than slavery. And that's what created the modern economic system that we're in now, that you're renting your labor to these companies. And before, I'll give you one thing with slavery that people with the Confederate flag have. It's that when you were enslaved, it was arguably a better system because your employer was responsible for everything. Your employer was responsible for your medical bills. They were responsible for your room and board. Your paycheck had to cover all your basic living expenses. You couldn't afford social mobility. You couldn't afford to escape. They kept you in debt to keep you on the plantation. But it's very important to understand why the African slaves were enslaved for so long. So then you, as a modern day American, you can understand why you're enslaved. You can understand, why am I working 40 hours a week, but I can't get out of debt? I can't manage my life, because that is the slave system. Slaves got a paycheck. They were paid enough to stay in debt. Americans get a paycheck. Americans get paid enough to stay in debt, to still need credit cards, to still need loans, to have this big, bright idea with no skills and no resources, because we're taught it's, and I suffer from this, honestly. What I'm about to say, I really suffer from too. But it's like we're not really taught to just work the honest job and make a living working 9 to 5, working 40 hours a week, because it doesn't seem to exist for a lot of the people that we see.
Well, here's why. Here's why it doesn't exist. Here's why it actually really truly doesn't exist. When they made overt slavery illegal, they just made slavery covert, okay? So in
Yeah.
what year did we abolish slavery? 18 what?
56,
1850.
65.
Okay.
I think the
And
Civil
so
War started 56. I think the Emancipation Proclamation was signed 65 or 64.
right. And so I believe it was 1868 when they started enacting the removal of the gold standard from the dollar, and every dollar started becoming debt. Okay, so right as they were making that transition, they were already planning the covert slavery swap. So now every single dollar that is ever printed in anyone's hands is 10% debt. And so we're yeah, dollars is just the chains on our enslavement at this point. And yeah, no, it doesn't exist because it doesn't exist. It looks
That's the
like it
hardest
does.
thing for people to accept.
Yeah, it's the dollar is just a representation of value. It is not actual value. And if you to me, if you ask me, dollars, money is the cheapest form of value. That there's way more valuable pieces. And the sad part is that oftentimes what people seem to think of as like, oh, I could never make a living as this, are actually the most priceless things we could ever make, that we
Yeah,
could ever do. Oh, I'm never going to become a millionaire being an artist, or I'm never going to be a millionaire being a teacher or a nurse or a this or a that. And these are the things that are the most impactful to be as humans, to serve, to love, and to create. And,
absolutely.
you, you
Because
know,
it's like they make the goal, and it's not even really your goal yourself. I remember this when I first got started. I want to be an author, make $1 million. No, I just wanted to be an author. I always just wanted to be a writer. I always just wanted to make books. The financial stress of it all, it adds this extra layer of so many people quit from the time that me and you first met until now. So many people quit being an author. They quit trying to market and advertise because they didn't instantly become successful. It's like this takes decades. This doesn't take years. It doesn't take months. It takes decades. This is something that you're going to have to invest yourself into because you have to get good enough to be better than everyone with the low barrier of entry, but you also have to find your unique style, your unique voice, your niche and your audience, the people that want to deal with you. And you don't know that when you first get started. You don't know
you
that.
discover it. You discover it by a process of repetition, by constantly finding people to talk to about your art and finding the people who receive it well. You're not going to know. You're going to find out, though, so long as you actually meet your market. It's an open book test. Just go talk to somebody.
It's a bit no, seriously.
But it takes time. Yeah,
And I
long
think
time.
I think about some of the biggest names right now. Off the top of my head, I think about Beyonce. I think of Taylor Swift. And it's like, yes, they do benefit from this internet era, but what you just said, just go talk to people. Both of those young women got started before the social media era. I didn't know this, but Taylor Swift had been making music since she was 12 or so. So that was like around the time social media started, right before then, they had to really just go out there, interact with people, talk to people. Social media can be a huge benefit. I wouldn't have met you without social media, but we brought it from the social media to some point of physical point of contact where we could see and talk and make it audio visual. It's like you can't just do the social media, you have to convert it into reality. And I guess it's like, for me personally, I can only speak for myself. I guess like one of my biggest gaps of failure is that I just kind of wanted after a while for it to just be on the internet. I didn't want it to convert into reality because I was still working. I was still trying to be a normal person, essentially. Normal being someone who works day and night. They don't have any real dreams. Because it's like you can't be around certain people and have ambitions. You can't be around certain people and be creative because it's like anything positive in life threatens them.
Yeah,
Anything good that you want to, if you start eating better, it threatens them. If you decide to quit smoking, it threatens them. If
because
you,
you're becoming somebody unfamiliar. The unfamiliar person's going to leave me now. Unfamiliar is unsafe.
it's
It's
like
never been seen.
it's like you almost make the leaving inevitable because it's like they're trying to do something to save their lives and you're putting yourself in the middle of that. It's not that hard to just support people, but I feel like a lot of people, again, part of it I think is the patriarchy. Part of it also is I feel like a lot of people were fucked up from a very young age, in which
School.
they were never raised in a supportive. They don't know what it looks like. They don't
I feel
believe
like
that it's real.
I feel like we messed up a lot with school, because what we learned is that, A, there is an answer. B,
Yeah,
it's in the back of the book. C, if you don't know it, there's something wrong with you
there's
and you're
only
getting
one
an
answer.
F.
There's only
Yeah,
one answer.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There is an answer, and we know it. It's in the back of the book, right? And so, like, we grew up with this idea that, like, if we didn't know things, there was something wrong with us. But the thing of it is that the point is not knowledge. The point is curiosity and wonderment,
Yeah,
you know? And so we got taught to focus on the answer rather than the question.
we're learning
And
how to learn.
right. We're afraid to ask any questions. We're afraid to look a fool. We're afraid to try anything new. We're afraid to experience anything new because we're taught that anything different than the answer is bad.
It's true. That's 100% true.
And so they get scared when you start being something different than the answer. The answer they see on TV, the answer that's reflected in front of them for, the ideal, Lancome, perfume commercial, whatever,
Yeah,
that magazine perfection that everyone's striving for but never going to actually achieve because it was friggin' airbrushed in the first place.
it's fake.
you know
Yeah,
yeah, like it's all an externalized sense of a pursuit of answer rather than an enjoyment and a savoring of the question. And goodness, like once you learn to actually sit there and just be like, I wonder this, and enjoy your simple questions because you live a boring life, that moment is when you know you've won.
it's true. I agree with that. I agree with that completely. I think that's why people want this very complex, complicated life. I think that's why they want this opulence, not even in reality of what they want, but it's like this feeling that I can't possibly be good enough. I can't possibly ever, it can never possibly be me. And I think that's what holds a lot of people back in a very realistic sense. You
It can't be
can't
that
take me
simple.
up from being completely crappy, being something no one should ever read. And you can, but it's like it takes admitting it. You got to admit that you're not that great. You got to admit that you might suck at this. And then you can get better. The other part of what you're saying, I feel, is that people are taught to be way too fucking cocky, way too arrogant and confident about something that they have watched one YouTube video on. They have, it's like people pretend to be experts. They pretend to be like, and it's like I appreciate the people that have really gone out there, done the research, done the hard work, done the experimentation. I'm not talking about those people because a lot of them suffer from imposter syndrome. I'm talking about the opposite of that. It's like imposter syndrome only seems to exist because people have this delusion that they're supposed to know everything. You're supposed to be the greatest person at this, or you shouldn't even bother doing it. And it's like you can just enjoy it, and people would pay you because they can't do it. People would pay you because they don't have the time to do it, and they really need this service. And it's not as big of a deal as you're making it out to be. You
Yeah.
might be surrounded by the wrong fucking people.
Oh, that reminds me of a quote too. Like, before you diagnose yourself with depression, be
For sure.
sure that you are not in first, in fact, surrounded by assholes. Exactly. Yeah.
That's honestly what happened. I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder. I moved out of Ohio back to New Jersey, and I was like, wow, like this is fucking terrible. This is awful. And then I just started spending more time alone. I just started spending more time by myself. I left my job and I was like, this is the last job I'm ever going to work. I'm going to start a business. I'm going to work for myself from here on out. I'm not going back. And ever since I made that decision, it's like I've had a lot of people in my ear who've never had a business before. They've never been a creator. And it's like, how can you even speak about what I'm doing when you have never even tried it? You're not even in. It's one thing if you've done it all before, and I got to the top of the mountain, kid, and I lost it all, and this is just what you shouldn't do, and this is how you get there, and this is how you keep it. You're saying I shouldn't even try because you wouldn't do it. You
Yeah.
ain't me. We ain't got nothing
Yeah.
in common. Like, what the fuck you talking about?
That's
I would
okay.
never do it.
You can keep heckling from the stands. I'm actually in the arena. Okay. And that's a big part of it is 9 times out of 10, people don't get to taste success until they've taken a bite out of yours. That's going to be a part of it. And then a part of what ends up happening too is that people are sitting here pondering, if you do that, what's my excuse? Like, you wait a minute, wait a
Yeah.
minute, wait a minute. This guy here who's managed to work 2 weeks at Home Depot and quit, if he goes out and do this, then what am I? Chopped liver, less than, you know? And
Basically, yeah.
it's all about that relative externalism.
And I gotta bring it back. I'm sorry, I keep hammering this point
You're
home
good.
because I can't not unsee it because I wrestled for a long time and I got to see who tough guys are versus people that got no business being here. You can see
Hmm.
it in them. You can see it in them, and you know it. You got a lot of men. It's a male geared society. They're obsessed with their masculinity. It's like they're just not that guy. It's like everything that you're saying is very true. Everything you're saying is reality because it's like you got to be who you say you are at the end of the day. A lot of these dudes would never get laid. They would never get dates. They would never, if they didn't lie to people, if they didn't manipulate people, if they didn't have control over people, what would they do? What would they do?
It's
It's
awful.
if everyone doesn't think that you have to be a fucking billionaire to be human, to just consider yourself worth basic human respect, then every guy who isn't a billionaire, you're gonna look at sideways. Fuck if he can make you happy. Fuck if you can have a happy life together. But vice versa with women, it's like if she's not willing to be the most docile, submissive, timid, childlike wonder and just completely ignore all the human suffering around her to just worship you. She's not a real woman. And it's like, you can't. It's like, it's Willie Lynch's letter. It's like, you are breaking people at an axionomic level. You're destroying their basic sense of reality that 80-90% of humans have always been in poverty. Poverty is marketing. Most people have always been poor. Money is not a real thing that exists on the planet. The
You
people
know,
Go ahead, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I almost feel like they're exploiting the growing neurodivergent population and our object permanence, our lack of object permanence in
And
particular.
children.
Hmm. Because like you'll create this idea, this image, this imagination of an image of what is possible, and you become attached to that. And this is you see it in like the whole um young girl getting married to Prince Charming, like, oh, he kissed me and I was asleep forever, now I'm gonna marry you kind of trope.
Or dude
um
20 years older than her.
and but then we also have the tropes that people completely ignore and completely like, oh, what about Jasmine, right? What about Jasmine and Aladdin? What she loved him even though she found out he was a peasant
Yeah.
and a commoner, right? And he loved her even though she wanted to save the world because he wanted to save the world too. And that's kind of the thing that like people tend to forget, is that for every example in media that expresses the 50 shades of gray, you've also got the media that expresses another side, that like if you want to have some fantasy, maybe grow some spectrum of fantasy.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that's possible, and a lot of people completely lose the idea that other people have agency, other people have ideas that are just as important, and they like ingrain that, like, you're the most important person in the world, you're special, you're gonna da 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 da, and it creates this separation from using your eyes and your ears in proportion to your mouth you know
Creates schizophrenia. It creates a schism between reality and what the fuck you were told your whole life. You told you that you're one. I had a friend tell me that. I had to talk him out. We were up until 5 a.m. I had to talk him out of suicide. A young white man, and he's like, I've never felt white supremacy, like what they describe as white supremacy. I've just never felt that before. I've just never had any real bit. And it's like he grew up in a neighborhood surrounded by other white people. It's like for miles, like is for miles. It's like you're not competing with the immigrants. You're not competing with the brown people. It's just y'all. It's y'all and all the hatred that you compile, y'all and all the myths and all the lies that you tell. So you're telling yourselves that you're the greatest, you're the best, you're one. But if your life does not reflect that, your parents are divorced, dad hasn't worked a good job in decades, mom is struggling, her fucking husband, stepdad's abusive. I'm sorry, her new boyfriend or husband's abusive. It's like they're not living within this realm and parallel in which they're treating and it's like I think that's why they're so cruel. That's why they have to treat people so poorly, is because they told themselves that they're the greatest, and in reality their life really isn't that good. Their life really isn't anything to be desired or admirable, and rather than just admitting that and saying, you know what, I'm not in the best position myself, let me improve myself first, they have to keep other people down. They have to, because they're never going to do anything to improve their own life. They're never going to take that chance. It's easier to talk shit than it is to do the shit. It's
Because you feel obliged to be the best, because you've been told that you are the best, so you feel obliged to be the best, and therefore you have to constantly prove that you're the best, regardless of whether it's true or not. And so it's a constant stupid cycle, and they just regurgitate that same talking point without even realizing, thinking through what it really means. And that's a big part of it, is that they don't think past the sentence that they've said. And because I've had this conversation, I'll use the term loosely, there's a gentleman that I was working with earlier in this year that I'd known for a number of years, that I've even shared the stage with. And he had expressed some ideas that I was just like, what? You sure about that one? The general idea that was expressed was that the entrepreneur should get the lion's share of the revenue, even if it is hurting the employees. The employees are there to make the money, and if it wasn't for the entrepreneur giving them a job, they wouldn't have one. I didn't agree with that. I was like, really, you feel that you have a right to their labor. It's like, yeah, why shouldn't I? Block, delete. And that's ultimately a lot of they just don't realize how wrong it is to feel like they have a right to another person's life. That they have a right to tell somebody else what to do because they're wrong, obviously, duh. And I'm like, excuse me,
you're hit the nail on the head. You
how
really
do you
hit
get
the
this idea?
because it's the only thing that makes them feel like a man at the end of the day. It's like that's really all they want. It's like the dude in the White House right now. And I think about often, it's like, why aren't they bothered by his sex crimes? It's because they want to be sex criminals. They want to get away with the same sex crimes. They want to do the same thing to little girl. Like, there's a problem here. And
Yeah.
it's that when the term toxic masculinity was created, I felt like if you felt like you weren't a toxic man, like I did, let me see what this is about. You had all these men who were toxic men. You're like, how dare you insult masculinity? They're not insulting masculinity. They're insulting hypo masculinity. They're insulting the lack of masculinity, the lack of egalitarianism, the lack of equity, the feeling that you're better than people and superior than people, even though you haven't done any of the fucking work. But this is really, I've grown around white people my entire life. This is my first time for these past 6 or 7 years. This is my first time living around all black people. I fucking love it. You told all these narratives growing up about how terrible black neighborhoods are, how horrible black people are. And it's like, even as a black person, it's like you have to defend it, but you don't really have any knowledge of that if you grew up in the suburbs. So it's like they catch you in this realm of ignorance, and they feed upon your ignorance. They feed upon you not knowing. You're not able to articulate these points. You're not educated enough to argue with them. So they get to feel right just because they want to argue. To bring back the allegory of the cave, it's like they're focusing on the shadows, but they've never seen the sun. They've never left the cave before a day in their life. And now that you're back from the sun and you're trying to tell them there's an entire world out there. There's fruits, there's vegetables, there's so many animals. Like, there's fish that there's so much life out here.
There's places where your neighbors might show up with food for you, just like randomly. Like you've never seen them before, but they're just like, hey, by the way, hi,
It's
neighbor,
real.
I got a plate of food. There's
Yeah.
places like this.
I live in that neighborhood. Yo, I left my house one day to take out the trash. I'm taking out the trash, and my neighbor's like, "Do you want to fish?" I'm like, I'm like, nigga, what? Like the fuck you talk? He's a Mexican dude. I'm like, sure, I'll take a fish. And I'm thinking it's gonna be like a guppy or something. I'm like, is it gonna be like a beta fish or something? He brings out this frozen. This shit was this fucking big. It is a big ass like sturgeon or something. It is a big ass fish. The fish had another fish inside of it. They caught it. They froze it. The fish. I had to gut it. It was my first time ever gutting and like I couldn't eat the fish after that. I cooked it, I fried it up. Everyone loved it. They're like, "This is the best fish I ever had." The whole process of gutting the fish, I was like, I can't eat this. We've had too intimate of an experience right now. And then there was like a half digested fish inside of its stomach that I had to pull out. And I'm like, what is this? How is this possible? No, there really are. There really are. There really are people like that. There are people that they're having a garage sale and they got designer shoes. Like, take it for $5. I just want to get rid of it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Your neighbor's throwing a birthday party. You go for a walk around the neighborhood and you're like, "Hi
Please
neighbor." They're
come
like, "Oh,
over.
hey, come on, we got a barbecue." I'm like, "I was just gonna." No. You're here now. Like, I love living on the soul food side of town. That's what I call it.
It's
Like,
it's the truth. It's just
yeah.
people don't know because they've never experienced before. And until I lived in New Jersey, you're all up on top of each other. It's very small. So there's a lot of classism in New Jersey. I would argue to say that there are definitely racists, but they are all balding, middle aged white men with tiny penises whose wives like black dudes. It's like they're not racist because they're superior than you. They're racist because they're jealous that you don't have to do any of the things that they did to get the same woman. That's really what a lot of this comes down to is they just want to make it harder for other people to reproduce. So you're not going to find the man of your dreams attractive. I'm glad you brought up 50 Shades of Grey. You're going to find this absolute fucking batshit crazy psychopath with a sex dungeon who does not see you as human attractive because you need money to survive. So fuck your boyfriend from high school. Forget the guy from college that you two talked about opening a bakery shop. And even though it's gonna be hard, you're just gonna have a Bob's Burgers lifestyle, and he'll be Bob and you'll be Linda, and you'll just make it work with your 3 kids. You need the rich psychopath who hates people, who does the most insane illegal things to make a living. And it's like
And
it's so hard to talk these people, men and women. It's so hard to talk them out of this because you have to live it. You have to
and
sadly experience. You have to date these men and meet these men. You have to meet the women that really have no value for you unless you have money. You have to feel what that's like. It is insane. You're not even going to treat me like I'm a person because I'm not going to buy you some shit you can't buy yourself. And then it's just that goes back to it. It's like they have this. They don't feel human without all these externalities. They don't feel like they can live. They don't feel like they can interact with you. I watch these videos about Europe and about Americans going to Europe, and it's like Americans pay extra to get away from people. They pay more for exclusivity. They pay more to feel like they're human when the European experience is everyone gets the same experience no matter how much money you have.
yeah.
So it's like they're not even living by what their ancestors did. They're not even living by what the modern version of what their ancestors have learned. Like we're living in America in a completely uncharted territory where they're telling themselves this is the best, this is the greatest. It was only made 400 years ago. We've been around for millions of years and it don't fucking work, but we're too prideful to admit that. We're too prideful or we gaslight ourselves, and then it can't possibly be us. It can Oh no, I'm sorry. It can't possibly be the system. It
Oh,
can't possibly be the institution. It has to be me. I'm just not working hard enough. Let me take a third job. Maybe you shouldn't have to work 2 jobs to survive.
maybe, just maybe. if we were to actually fix the fact that we're throwing away 99% of all that we produce inside 6 months, if we were to fix the fact that, we have, because of the fact that we're throwing away 99% of all we produce every inside 6 months, that we're producing 4 times more that we use, and just, redistribute labor, redistribute production sensibly, we could be producing exactly what we are, which is 4 times more than we need, on about, oh my gosh, I don't know, about 1 hour a month, everyone working. Like that's present day technology, present day everything. I'm not even like really trying too hard. We just get rid of the waste, you know. And this is one of those, like, we've had the technology. The reason why we don't is because we're looking at the value of success with the wrong numbers. We're looking at it by the bank account, by the size of our lot, by the number that we're giving away to our kids, rather than the size of our tree trunks, you know?
Yeah.
And that is one of those things that, like, we have no perspective on anymore. We think that the trees that we see around here that have been around for, like, oh wow, that's a
Five
hundred
to
year
10
old tree.
years. I'm sorry.
That's a Well, yeah, but there's plenty of trees 5 to 10 years old, right? And then they see some trees, they're like, oh, I can't even wrap my arms around this one. It's 100 years old. And it's
Yeah.
true, it is 100 years old. But we had trees so big that they were as big around as you are tall, and that was
The size of
normal.
cities. Some
That was
trees are the
normal.
size of villages.
Yeah, that was normal. That was just like one, freaking branch was as thick around as you are tall, and those were the king's boards, 55 inches or larger, or larger, or larger. Okay, that was the minimum for a large board, and that was standard. That was typical. That was just what was normal here. And you've got, and this is why I say that success is only by recognition.
Mhm.
If you don't have an idea that success could look different than what you've always seen, you're going to miss it when it comes to you. Because when the Europeans came and landed here, they saw all of these quote unquote wilds. And they were like, oh, wow, nobody lives here. And the natives are like, no, this is my garden. Do you want some food? Just walk through and pick some stuff. That's the way it's made.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, nobody lives here. They're like, no, actually, we've got, like, 10 million people right over there, and we've got no concept now because, of course, who wrote the history?
The people that murdered everybody.
Yeah. But yeah,
You know,
on that note,
yeah, I could keep you here. I could probably keep you here all night, but I'm not going to. We went about 17 minutes over, but I appreciate you for every single minute. Where can people find you on the internet? Where, if they need your services, they want to find you?
generally speaking, right now, you can find me best on Facebook, or Instagram. Awesome Brains, AWESUM. So it's like a, amazing number. Awesome Brains.
Yeah.
Also by my name, Patricia Michelle Mayo. That's fun because my middle name is misspelled. So you'll know it because the E is missing. And yeah, that's,
What's that?
uh, I know. Yeah, my mom couldn't spell, but she could. She just spelled it the old Hawaiian way. And if you look at Hawaiian language now, it doesn't have any of those language, but we did have those letters. Anyway, long story short, that's why my name is so messed up. It's Hawaiian.
It's
Enjoy.
unique. It's
Yeah.
unique. It's uniquely yours. Thank you for the amazing time. I'm going to end the recording.
Thank you.